I launched this challenge on Twitter asking how to do this with one HTML element, no JS, no SVG, and no images other than CSS gradients. So this is like a blobby shape with a gradient in the back. So let's see how to do this. So we have one blobs element, and here we're going to set some generic styles for all elements and pseudo elements after pseudo elements. So here we're going to have margin, so margin 0 and height 100%, and then we're going to move on to the blobs element, and we're going to have this after pseudo element, which is going to have display block. It's also, let's set a background so that we can see stuff, but we can't see stuff without a content. Now it should work. Now we're going to create a gradient image, and this is going to be a custom property. So that's going to be a radial gradient, and it starts at black 67%, and then it goes to transparent, that's 68%. And we're going to use this custom property, we're going to use it here. And we don't want it stretched, so let's give it a background size. So this is going to be 13 ems, and as you can see, this doesn't really work because it's still stretched. So what I'm going to do is do it like this, and now it's perfectly round, but we don't want it repeating. So background repeat, this is going to be no repeat. And the next thing that we do is put it in the middle. So that's background position, that's 50. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to do is add some more such backgrounds. So white, and here let's say 65%, something like this. Okay, and now if we set a filter here, blur 5 pixels and contrast 9, you can see that it gets rounded there. So if I were to comment this, you can see it goes sharp, and now uncommented is round again. Now here I'm going to set a background, and this is going to be a linear gradient, and this is going to be deep pink to yellow. And I'm going to use, it's not going to be background blend mode, but I don't have mixed blend mode for autocomplete. So this is going to be lighten and mixed blend mode, not background blend mode. So we now have the gradient blobby thing, but we still have this blurry edge here. So the way we're going to fix this is make the blur 5 pixels, and we use this blur here. And before the background, we're going to set a box shadow, 0x offset, 0y offset, 0 blur, and the spread is going to be twice the blur in the filter. And this is going to be white. Okay, so actually we can save a few characters writing it like this, but whatever, doesn't matter, same thing. Anyway, now we can make a lot more blobs if we generate automatically all this stuff. So let's say we're going to have 9 blobs, and we're going to have some positions. So initial position, this is going to be 50%, and then I'm going to have sizes, so size, but before I do this, I'm going to set a base dimension, and this is going to be 13 ems, and the size is going to be on this base dimension along the x-axis and along the y-axis. So here I'm going to use size. And also I'm going to have a final positioning. So and this is the initial positioning at first. Now here I'm going to have a loop. So I from 0 to n, and I'm also going to have a gradient image list, which is empty at first. So I keep adding to this, and what I'm adding is this custom property that I've set here. So now here I can just use the SAS list. And for I greater than 0, actually, if I is greater than 0, I'm going to have like this. The final positioning, I keep adding to it. So let's see what we're going to add, but first let's create a random function. Function random, and this is going to have a maximum, a minimum, and a unit. And it's going to return minimum plus random max minus the min times the unit, and the unit is 1m by default, the minimum is 1, the maximum is 13, sorry. So now what I'm going to do is create a positioning radius, and this is going to be random, and a positioning angle, and this is going to be random with a maximum of 360, minimum of 0, and a unit of 1 degree, 1 degree, sorry. And here I'm going to have something like calc 50% plus, and here I'm going to have the position radius times cosine of this angle, and it's going to be pretty much the same for the other one, except this is going to be a sine. So now I'm going to use the final position here. And I have this blobby thing, but they're all the same size, so let's fix that. I'm going to have a current size, and this is going to be random, something random. And I'm going to keep adding to the size. So this looks a lot better. Well, let's say I'm going to do a random of 10, so they're smaller. Okay, this looks nice. I guess I can do random of 10 here as well. Okay, now for the animation, I can do something like this. Keyframes. So it's going to go to background position, the initial position. So here I can set an animation. Infinite and alternate. And as you can see, it expands out. But I can change this and use a different timing function. So for example, something like this, is in, out, back. So I can take this. Sorry about the kid. And add this here. So you can see something like a bounce now, or I can just do my own function. So I can take it here, and I'm doing something like this, or and like this. I don't know. Something like this, and I can just copy paste it from the URL. I'm really sorry about the kid. So this is another option. Or actually, let's make this 0%. Actually, let's leave this the same size. The minimums bigger. That should work. Now this works. Okay. So something else I can do. So let's compact this, this as well, and this whole thing here. And let's comment this for a bit, and I can add a background to the HTML. So that's going to be background URL, and it's going to be in the middle, and it's going to cover the whole thing. So the background, let's make it something like this, and we paste it here, and we're also going to set a base background color, and let's say this is going to be very light gray. So let's also create an overlay function. And this takes a color and returns a gradient. And here I'm going to use overlay and RGBA of the base background color, and something like this. And here I'm going to set background blend mode. It's going to be normal luminosity, and let's copy paste this, and here I'm going to use multiply, and this is going to be mix blend mode. So now we have it like this, and we have that nice background in the back and all that. And if I uncomment the animation, should have something like this. And if I refresh the page, I'm going to get a totally different animation, because stuff is randomly generated. So I could change the number of blobs from here and do something like 7, which maybe looks a bit more realistic, something. Yeah, this looks nicer. I like this better. So yeah, this is it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any other ideas for any other videos, just drop them in the comments or send them on Twitter. And until next time.